The scent of jasmine wilted in the air like a memory I never asked for. My wedding dress clung to my skin, soaked through with sweat, mud, and fear. I ran, barefoot through the forest, thorns biting into my heels, the sound of the royal guards behind me nothing compared to the thunder in my chest. Each step felt like a betrayal, not to my family, not to the kingdom I was supposed to serve, but to the version of myself I had killed slowly over the past year. Obedient, graceful, silent. Princess Aloan of Salmara, the golden bride-to-be, promised to a man I had never loved and would never obey. A man who saw me as a crown with legs, nothing more. My lungs burned as I stumbled forward, the jeweled hairpins ripping from my tangled curls. The forest swallowed the last of the ceremonial torches behind me. Darkness was no longer terrifying. It was freedom, and I would take freedom in any form it offered, even if it came with fangs. Or fire. Or worse. A root caught my foot, and I crashed into the dirt, gasping, trembling. My knees bled. My throat burned. But I didn't cry. I hadn't cried since the engagement had been announced. Princesses don't weep, my mother had said. They marry. They endure. I had endured enough. I pushed myself up, one palm against the earth, and something strange shivered beneath my skin. The air was colder here, almost metallic. A different kind of silence pressed around me, watchful, ancient. I had heard the tales. Witches. Curses. The forbidden woods beyond the kingdom's edge. They warned girls like me never to come here, and I had never believed them until the forest began to hum. A low vibration beneath my fingers, like the land itself, had a heartbeat. Then I saw her. At first, just a silhouette through the mist, tall, cloaked, motionless. Watching me, the moonlight kissed her face as she stepped forward, revealing features both striking and strange. Sharp cheekbones, dark eyes burning like coals beneath a storm, a streak of silver through her raven hair. And power. She wore it like armor, like a secret. You don't belong here, she said, voice low and quiet and dangerous. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. My throat seized. My body wanted to collapse. My mind whispered to run. But my heart leaned toward her like a compass finding north. Please, I managed to say. I had nowhere else to go. Her gaze dropped to the torn silk of my dress, to the blood on my knees, to the crown still half-pinned in my hair. She looked at me like she could see everything I was running from. Then she laughed. Just once. Sharp and soft and unamused. You're royal, she said. That explains the stupidity. I flinched, shame and exhaustion crashing through me. But before I could reply, she turned away.
Follow me, she said.
Or don't. Your corpse won't bother the crows. And then she walked into the shadows. I hesitated for less than a breath. Then I followed. I don't know why. Maybe because she hadn't looked at me like a prize. Or a duty. Or a pawn. She had looked at me like I was inconvenient. Human.
Real.
Her cabin wasn't what I expected. Twisting vines clung to the roof, and glowing runes pulsed along the stone walls. Inside, it was warm. Too warm. The fire danced in colors I didn't recognize. Violet, deep green, gold. What do you want from me? She asked without turning around. I shook my head. Nothing. I just want to disappear. Her laugh this time was quieter. Almost bitter. Then you came to the right place. People don't leave here the same. I wanted to ask what that meant, but something in her eyes silenced me. Days passed. Or hours. Time bent in the woods like wind. She let me stay, reluctantly, at first. I swept the floor, fetched water, watched her crush herbs and whisper things that made the air ripple. Her name was Kaylin. She never asked for mine. She called me Runaway. I called her which once, and she nearly hexed my tongue off. And yet, I watched her when she wasn't looking. The way her fingers moved, precise and elegant. The way she stared into the fire like it owed her an answer. The way her voice grew low when she muttered spells, like secrets meant only for the wind. I couldn't stop watching her. And once, just once, I caught her watching me. I should have been terrified. I wasn't. I was alive. More alive than I'd ever felt in the palace. Maybe because for the first time, someone wasn't trying to mold me into their fantasy. Kaylin didn't want to fix me, or cage me,
Or save me.
she barely tolerated me. And that made me want her more. Not as a hero, but as a flame I could finally burn with. But just as I started to feel the ground beneath me again, the wind shifted. A raven slammed into the window, dead on impact. Kaylin's expression changed. "They've found you," she whispered. And I realized something I hadn't dared to think until that moment. I didn't want to run anymore. I wanted to fight, and I wanted to do it beside her. Kaylin moved fast, her cloak swirling behind her as she ripped the raven from the window pane and tossed its limp body into the fire. It erupted in a burst of black smoke and green flame, hissing like a beast. Her lips twisted, eyes gleaming with fury. "Messenger spell," she muttered. "Royal tracking. Old magic." My stomach turned cold. "They're coming." She didn't answer. Instead, she stormed across the room, pulling vials from the shelves, muttering incantations under her breath. Her hands never shook, but her jaw was clenched tight, and that terrified me more than any curse. Why would they use that kind of magic just to find me? I asked, heart thudding. You're not just anything," she snapped, turning on me. "You're the blood daughter of House Salmara. You carry centuries of power in your veins, even if they stuffed you in silks and locked you in a tower." Her eyes narrowed. "Tell me something, princess. Did your family ever mention why they were so desperate to marry you off before the solstice?" I hesitated. My father had spoken of duty, of alliances, of peace. But now his words felt hollow, manipulative. Kaylin didn't wait for my answer. "Of course not. They never tell you the truth. They raise you soft, compliant, ignorant. And then they trade you like coin for power they don't deserve." She turned back to the spell work, the heat between us as sharp as a blade. I watched her move, watched the way the flames curved toward her like they knew her name. My pulse was wild, but it wasn't fear anymore. It was something hotter, hungrier. She felt it too, I knew she did. In the way her fingers paused mid-gesture when I stepped closer. In the way her breath caught when I touched her wrist. "Why are you helping me?" I asked softly. "You don't even like me." Her eyes flicked to mine. Something dangerous swirled there. "Don't confuse tolerance with mercy, runaway." "You could have let me die in the woods," I whispered. "But you didn't. And you're risking your own safety for me now." I stepped closer. "So tell me the truth. Why?" The silence between us stretched, taut and trembling. Finally, she said, "Because once, a long time ago, I trusted someone who ran from the same kind of cage. And no one helped her. She burned for it." The word struck like a match in the dark. I swallowed hard. What happened to her? "She became me." Her voice was barely audible. And yet, I felt every syllable in my bones. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay on the small cot Kaylin had conjured from nothing, staring at the ceiling, my thoughts a tangled web of fear and fascination. I should have been plotting my next move, finding a safer place, reaching allies beyond the kingdom. But all I could think about was the way her voice had broken when she spoke of the girl she used to be, and the way her eyes lingered on me a little too long when she thought I wasn't looking. I got up, barefoot, and wandered to the main room. The fire was low, crackling softly. Kaylin sat in front of it, knees drawn up, her hair loose down her back. I had never seen her like this. Vulnerable, quiet, almost human. "You should be asleep," she said without turning.
Couldn't.
I sat beside her. For a moment, we just watched the fire. Then I asked, what would have happened if I'd gone through with the wedding? Her jaw tightened. "You'd be bound by blood to a man you despise. You'd be a channel for his magic. Your power, your heritage, would become his." My breath caught. "My power? Did they really never tell you?" she asked, turning to face me fully. "Eloan, your line is ancient, older than the crown itself. They buried that truth under ceremonies and gowns, but it's in you. I feel it. Her hand reached out, hesitating. Then she touched my chest, just above my heart. Right here. Magic sleeps in you, waiting to wake. The touch burned through me. Not painful, electric. My heart thundered beneath her fingers. Show me, I whispered. Her eyes widened. You don't know what you're asking. Yes, I do. I want to know who I really am. Her hand lingered a second longer, then dropped. She stood and crossed the room, pulling a curved blade from a drawer. My eyes widened. You're going to stab me? She rolled her eyes. It's ceremonial. Then she sliced her own palm, swift, controlled, and pressed her bleeding hand to the glowing sigil on the wall. The runes flared to life, casting golden light across the room. Put your hand here, she instructed. I obeyed, trembling. The moment my skin touched the stone, I felt it, a surge of heat, of light, of something old and vast uncoiling in my blood. Images flashed behind my eyes, women in battle, voices singing spells, fire blooming from fingertips. My ancestors. My legacy. I gasped, staggering back. Kaelin caught me. Her arms were firm, grounding. You felt it, she murmured. Didn't you? I nodded, dizzy. What happens now? She held my gaze. Now you have a choice. I can mask your aura, send you farther into the wildlands. You can start a new life. Or you can stay, learn, fight. With you? I asked. Her voice was a whisper. Beside me. My breath caught. Everything in me screamed yes. But before I could speak, a sound shattered the night, horns echoing through the trees. My blood turned to ice. Kaelin swore under her breath. They're here. She looked at me then, not just with fire and fury, but something else. Something raw. If you stay, she said, you can't go back. Not ever. Not to who you were. Not to who they want you to be. I stepped forward, close enough to feel the heat of her body. I don't want to go back. And for the first time, her guard slipped, just a fraction. Her breath hitched. Her eyes darkened. You're making a dangerous choice, alone. So kiss me before I regret it, I whispered. Her lips parted, stunned. Then, for a heartbeat, the world stopped. But she didn't kiss me. Not yet. She turned away, jaw tight. Later, she said, if we survive this night. And then she grabbed her staff, eyes blazing. Ready to set the world on fire, princess? I grinned, heart pounding. Let it burn. Kaelin didn't waste time. She moved through the cabin like lightning, grabbing satchels, potions, blades laced with runes that shimmered in the candlelight. I followed her without question, pulse wild, every part of me vibrating with adrenaline and something hotter, more primal. We go east, she said, strapping her staff across her back. There's a passage through the cliffs. Old witch territory. They won't follow us there. Not if they value their lives. I swallowed hard. Why? Because the last army that tried disappeared. Bones still whisper through the rocks. That should have terrified me. Instead, I felt alive in a way I never had before. Maybe it was her presence beside me, a force of nature wrapped in human skin. Or maybe it was because I was done being afraid of everything except losing myself again. We burst into the forest, moonlight dripping through the canopy like silver blood. Behind us, horns howled. Footsteps. Shouts. The crackle of dark enchantments slicing through the trees. Kaelin grabbed my hand. Her fingers were rough, warm, grounding. No matter what happens, she growled. Don't let go. I nodded, breath catching in my throat. We ran. The wind howled. Magic stirred around us, alive and watching. Kaelin whispered spells under her breath, her voice threading through the leaves. Runes ignited on the trees we passed, vines slithering down to block the path behind us. But it wasn't enough. I could hear them gaining, armored boots, sorcerers chanting detection spells. The kingdom's magic smelled different. Cold. Sterile. Hungry. Kaelin spun, dragging me behind a moss-covered boulder. They're too close. I have to slow them down.
How?
I asked, breathless. She looked at me with fire in her eyes. By being what they fear. She stepped into the clearing, lifted her staff, and let out a word I didn't understand. Not with my mind, but with something deeper. The sky pulsed. The ground trembled. Flames spiraled from her body, wrapping her in gold and violet light. The soldiers appeared a second later, crashing through the underbrush, weapons drawn. Their leader, a knight draped in salmarin blue, raised his hand. "Princess Aloan," he shouted. "By order of your father, surrender yourself now." I stepped forward before I could think. "I'm not his property." His eyes widened. "What have they done to you?" "Nothing," I said coldly. "And everything." Kaelin didn't wait. With a flick of her wrist, vines burst from the soil, wrapping around the knight's legs. They screamed as the forest turned against them. One tried to hurl a spell. Kaelin deflected it midair, her magic snarling with a voice I barely recognized. "That's enough," she said, her tone like ice cracking. "Come any closer, and I'll show you why your ancestors banned us." They hesitated. Even in their arrogance, they could feel it, the raw, ancient power she wielded. Then the leader stepped forward, blade drawn. "You'll burn for this." Kaelin's smile was wicked. "Then let's see who burns first." Before I could blink, she moved, faster than wind. Her staff slammed into the earth, and a shockwave erupted, sending the knights flying. Trees bent. Fire raced across the ground in a perfect circle around us. I felt it in my veins, the pulse of something wild. And then I felt her hand grab mine again. "Now," she whispered. We ran. Hours blurred. Or maybe it was minutes. We didn't stop until the trees thinned and the cliffs rose before us, jagged and glowing with old runes etched into stone. I collapsed to my knees, gasping, the cold air slicing into my lungs. Kaelin stood above me, chest heaving, sweat gleaming on her brow. Her magic still clung to the air, fierce and humming. "They'll regroup," she said. "They'll come again, stronger." "Then we keep running," I said. "We fight if we have to." She looked down at me, something unreadable in her eyes. "You're not the same girl who stumbled into my woods a week ago." "No," I whispered. "I'm not." And then, God's help me, I reached for her hand again. This time not out of fear. Out of want.
Need.
Her fingers closed around mine. Firm.
Certain.
And yet her voice was soft. "You don't understand what you're getting into, Aloan." "Explain it to me," I breathed. "Make me understand." The tension snapped like a string pulled too tight. She pulled me to my feet, her body inches from mine, her breath hot against my cheek. "You think this is a story," she said. "You think you're in love with danger, with freedom. But I'm not a fantasy. I'm a storm." "Maybe I want the storm," I said. "Maybe I want to drown in it." She exhaled sharply. Then, slowly, almost painfully, she leaned in. Her lips brushed mine like the promise of lightning. "Careful what you wish for," she whispered. And just like that, she pulled away.
Rest.
"We move again at dawn." She turned, walking toward a hidden crevice in the cliff face, leaving me standing there, heart racing, mouth burning, already aching for more. I followed her into the darkness. And I knew, with terrifying clarity, that I was already hers.
Body.
Magic.
Soul.
The cave mouth swallowed us in silence, the kind that pressed against your skin and made your thoughts feel too loud. Inside, the walls shimmered faintly with bioluminescent moss, casting green and blue shadows over Kaelin's sharp profile.
She didn't speak.
She led me deeper into the rock, through twisting tunnels that pulsed with a magic older than any I'd ever felt. The air was thick with it. Sacred. Dangerous.
Alive.
Finally, we emerged into a hollowed chamber, a natural sanctuary where a small pool mirrored the light above. Kaelin dropped her satchel and stripped off her cloak without a word. The firelight caught the curve of her shoulder, the long scar that ran from her collarbone to her ribs. She didn't try to hide it. She never did. That's what made looking at her feel like drowning. "This place," I whispered, It's not just a hiding spot, is it? She turned to me, unflinching.
No.
It's where I first bled magic. I blinked. You were born here? No one is born in the wildlands. We're abandoned here. Or hunted. She sat by the pool, her voice colder than the stone beneath us. I was 16 when they came for me. The king's enforcers. I'd lit a fire with my hands the week before. A spark, nothing more. But someone saw, reported it. My breath caught. And your family? Her jaw tightened. They turned me in, said it was the only way to save me. I moved closer, sitting beside her. What happened? I ran. Her voice was flat. They caught me, branded me. She touched the scar. But one of the witches found me before I died. She taught me to survive,
To fight back.
and when she was killed by the very same guards who now chase us, I swore I'd never let another girl burn the way she did. My throat ached. That's why you saved me.
No, she said.
That's why I didn't leave you to die. Saving you. That's something else entirely. She looked at me then, really looked, and I felt seen in a way that undid me. I reached out, fingers brushing her arm. You don't have to protect me from everything. I can learn. I want to. Her breath shivered. You don't understand what magic does to people. It feeds off desire, off fear, off what we try hardest to hide. Then teach me how to control it, I said. Or, are you afraid I'll be stronger than you? Her eyes sparked. You think this is a game? No, I said, and leaned closer. But I think you're used to pushing people away. And I think you're scared because I'm not walking away when you want me to. The air between us pulsed, sharp, electric. Then, all at once, she grabbed my wrist and pressed my palm to her chest. Her heartbeat was fast.
Wild.
Feel that, she said, voice low. That's what you do to me. That's what I can't afford. Why? I whispered. Because if I fall for you, her words died on her lips. I could barely breathe. Say it, I begged. Because if I fall for you, she whispered, I won't survive it. My hand slid to her jaw, cupping her face. Maybe we don't survive it, but maybe we're not supposed to. Her lips parted, and this time, she didn't turn away. She kissed me.
Fierce.
Devastating. Like she was pouring years of loneliness and rage and buried longing into that single, searing moment. I kissed her back, just as desperate, just as real. The world cracked open. Magic flared in my chest, not wild this time, but responsive. It moved with me, not against me, like it had been waiting for this. For her. She pulled away first, panting, eyes wide. What did you do? I didn't do anything, I whispered. It was just there. Her gaze turned frantic.
No.
That was a bond forming. My stomach dropped. What kind of bond? A soul tie, she said, breathless.
Rare.
Dangerous. Unbreakable. We stared at each other, stunned. I touched my chest. The magic inside me felt different now, deeper, rooted. What does it mean? It means, Kaelin said, that we're linked. In power. In pain. If one of us dies, the other might not survive. I laughed, shaky, disbelieving. Of course. Of course I'd run from one prison just to find a new kind of chain. Her eyes narrowed. Is that what this feels like to you? A cage? I hesitated. No, I said. But it's terrifying. Because I'm not ready to lose you.
Then don't, she said.
Stay close. Train with me. Fight with me. I nodded, but something in her voice made my blood run cold. You said if one of us dies like it was a possibility. Her silence was answer enough. Kaelin, I whispered. What aren't you telling me? She turned away. There's a reason your marriage was set for the solstice. A spell. An old rite. Your bloodline, it's the last key to awakening a weapon your father's court wants to unleash. A weapon. They need your blood, she said, to raise the Ember Crown. If they succeed, they'll destroy the old magic completely. There'll be nothing left but the throne's control. My heart pounded. So, I'm not just some runaway. I'm the last piece of a war that's already begun. Exactly. Kaelin looked at me, her expression unreadable. And now you're bound to a which your kingdom wants dead. Then let them come, I said. Let them try. You're not ready, she snapped. You barely know how to call flame without shaking. Then make me ready. I stepped closer. You said you wouldn't let another girl burn alone. So don't let me. Let me stand beside you. Her jaw flexed. Her eyes flickered with something like pride and fear. You're going to ruin everything, she whispered. I hope so, I said, and kissed her again. The days blurred into something feral.
Raw.
Every morning, Kaelin woke me before the sun with a sharp tap of her staff and that same infuriating glint in her eye. Again, she'd say, focus. Feel the current under your skin. And I would, eventually. The magic was still volatile, but it was no longer a stranger. It lived in me now, flared in my hands, my breath, my spine. It answered when I let go of control, when I let myself want. And gods, I wanted so much. I wanted her. Not just in stolen kisses or whispered touches after nightmares. I wanted all of her, the fury, the fire, the past she tried so hard to bury. But she kept walls up between us, even after that night in the cave. Her mouth would find mine with desperation, but the moment would always end too fast, too cold. She was teaching me to wield fire, but she was terrified of letting me near hers. Until the day they came. I was standing in the clearing outside the cave, palms raised, trying to conjure flame without burning my sleeves off. Kaelin watched with arms crossed, brow furrowed. You're too tense. Magic isn't a blade you force. It's a river you guide. Easy for you to say. I gritted. You were born into it. No one is born into mastery, she snapped. Only into choice. The words hit harder than I expected. I lowered my hands, panting. And what did you choose, Kaelin? When they hunted you. Her eyes darkened. I chose to survive. No matter what it cost. Before I could ask what it had cost her, a low whistle sliced through the trees. Kaelin froze. Get behind me. A shadow stepped into the clearing, tall, graceful, cloaked in emerald robes embroidered with sigils I didn't recognize. The woman's smile was slow, dangerous. Still dramatic as ever, Kaelin. Marin, Kaelin said flatly. My stomach twisted. There was history in that name. And in the way Kaelin's entire body stiffened. Didn't think you were still alive. Disappointed. Marin smirked, then her eyes found me. So this is the royal stray you've been hiding. Her gaze lingered on me in a way that made my blood simmer. Pretty. Reckless. No wonder you're attached. I stepped forward. Who are you?
An old friend, Marin said.
Once. A mistake, Kaelin corrected. And you're not welcome here. Relax, Marin said, raising her hands. I'm not here to fight. I came to warn you. The Salmon court is planning a full sweep through the wildlands. They've sent hunters. The ones who don't come back. Kaelin's face paled. They'll never make it past the wards. They already have, Marin said softly. Your bond flared too bright. They felt it. I opened my mouth, heart pounding. What does that mean? It means, Marin said, eyes locked on me, that your little romance just painted a target the size of a kingdom on both your backs. The silence that followed felt sharp enough to bleed. Kaelin turned away, her voice cold. We'll handle it.
You always say that, Marin said.
But this time, you're not alone. You're tethered. And she is stronger than you think, Kaelin snapped. I blinked. That was the first time she'd defended me to someone else. My chest ached. Marin tilted her head. Are you sure it's strength you're teaching her? Or are you just trying to keep her close? Enough, Kaelin growled. Leave. As you wish, Marin said, stepping back. But her eyes lingered on Kaelin, softer now. Be careful, Kael. You know how this ends. Then she vanished, like smoke in the wind. I stared at Kaelin. What the hell was that? Nothing, she muttered. She's not important. She knew about us. About the bond.
About you.
It doesn't matter, Kaylin said. You matter. I stepped closer. Then why do you keep pulling away from me? Her shoulders stiffened. Because if I let myself fall, if I stop guarding my heart, they'll use it against me. Against you. But you already have, I whispered.
Fallen.
You kissed me like you meant it. I did. Then stop pretending we're just teacher and student. You think I don't feel it too? The way my magic flares when you touch me? The way the bond pulls me toward you like gravity. She looked at me, raw and cornered. I don't know how to love without losing. Then lose with me, I said. But don't shut me out. Her breath caught. Then she kissed me, rough, almost angry, like she hated how much she needed it. I kissed her back harder. We didn't fall to the ground. We didn't strip each other bare. But in that kiss, we gave up something we hadn't admitted before. We were no longer pretending we could survive this alone. That night, she let me curl into her side by the fire. Her hand found mine. Our bond pulsed steady between us. Marin was right about one thing, she said. The court won't stop now. And when the hunters find us, I'll have to choose between saving you or stopping them. I turned to her, my voice low. You won't have to choose. Because I'm going to fight too. For you. For us. Her eyes searched mine like she wanted to believe me. And if it comes down to killing someone you once called father, then I'll make him wish he never tried to sell me. Kaylin's lips curled in a small, sad smile. You're becoming something dangerous, Siloan. Then teach me how to burn. We moved again before dawn. Kaylin said the wards around the cave were no longer safe. Too many eyes, too many shadows whispering through the trees. I could feel it too. The forest no longer hummed with lazy, wild energy. It was tense, waiting, watching. We didn't speak much as we hiked through the winding paths of the eastern ridge. Kaylin kept her senses sharp, hand always near her staff, magic crackling faintly around her fingers. I stayed close, my own magic trembling just beneath the surface, like it knew something was coming. And it did. By the time we reached the ravine, the birds had gone silent. The wind stilled. And the trees, they bled. At first, I thought it was sap, thick, dark streaks along the bark. But Kaylin went rigid the moment she touched it. Blood binding, she muttered. Old. Vicious. They're here. What do? We fight. Her voice was low, steady. And we don't die. But it was already too late. They came from the mist, black-armored figures cloaked in shadow, faces masked, hands glowing with magic laced in silver and iron. The Salmran hunters, trained to kill witches, bred to track magic through blood and fear. Eloan of Salmra, one of them called, his voice inhuman, twisted by spellwork. You're claimed by the crown. Surrender yourself, and we will make your end swift. Kaylin stepped in front of me. She's not yours. She never was. Then she dies with you, the hunter said. And everything exploded. Kaylin moved like lightning, staff raised, earth splitting beneath her as roots burst from the ground and coiled around the nearest attackers. I drew in breath, letting the fire swell in my chest like she'd taught me. I screamed, and flame poured from my hands in a wave that sent the front line reeling. But there were too many. They kept coming. Swords flashing, spells crashing through the trees. One of them slammed into me, knocking me to the ground. I kicked, twisted, reached for the fire, but he pinned my arms. His blade gleamed, raised to strike, until Kaylin appeared out of nowhere, fury in her eyes. Her magic didn't burn, it shredded. The hunter collapsed in ash. You okay? She barked. I nodded, shaking.
Yeah.
I think. She pulled me up, pressed a vial into my hand.
Drink. Now.
The potion hit like ice, clarity washing over me. The world sharpened. My hand stopped trembling.
Good, she said.
Now burn everything that tries to hurt you. So I did. I stopped thinking. Stopped fearing. I let go. And the fire obeyed. It didn't just come from my hands this time. It rose around me, a shield of heat and gold. Hunters screamed. Trees caught. Kaelin fought beside me, fast and merciless, her spells weaving through mine like they were born to align. And then, a flash of blue. A blade pierced the air, aimed at Kaelin's back. I didn't think. I stepped in front of it.
Pain. Bright. Sharp.
Real. I fell. She screamed. I barely registered her catching me, her arms wrapping around me like armor. No, she whispered. No, 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 but I wasn't dying. I felt it. The magic surged, sealing the wound before it could fester. Kaelin's eyes widened. The bond, she breathed. It's protecting you. I blinked, breath ragged. I told you. We don't die today. She laughed, wild, shaken, and pulled me to my feet. Then, let's end this. Together, we faced the last wave. Magic spilled between us like a tide, synchronized, untamed. I saw the fear in their eyes before they ran, before the forest itself turned against them. When the last of them vanished, the silence returned. Not tense, not watchful, just still. Kaelin collapsed beside me, panting, blood on her hands, sweat in her hair. I turned to her, trembling. That was insane, glorious. She laughed, and then, as if the moment had been building forever, she kissed me. Hard,
Deep.
desperate. There was nothing tentative this time. No hesitation. Just truth. Fire met fire. And it didn't hurt. It healed. When we broke apart, I rested my forehead against hers. You saved me. You saved me, she whispered. They would have killed me if you hadn't. Don't say it, I said. We're both here. That's what matters. She pulled me into her lap, wrapped her arms around me like she never wanted to let go. I've never had this, she said quietly. Not with Marin. Not with anyone. You have it now, I promised. You have me. For how long? Her voice cracked. Until the end, I said. Whatever it looks like. She didn't answer, but the way she held me tighter said everything. That night, we didn't sleep. We lay together beneath the stars, our magic still sparking in lazy pulses between our fingertips. And when Kaelin finally spoke again, her voice was so soft I almost missed it. There's something I have to tell you. I looked at her. What is it? I've seen the Ember Crown, she said. I've touched it. Before your father ever plotted to awaken it. My blood ran cold. Kaelin, I didn't understand what it was back then. I was just a girl. Just angry. But I opened something.
And now?
I think it's calling to you. Why? Because it doesn't want the king. It wants you. And just like that, the fire between us dimmed. Not from doubt, but from fear. Because what we were fighting wasn't just the court. It was something older. Hungrier. And I was its key. The fire was low, just a quiet flicker between us, but the silence held a weight heavier than any blade. Kaelin sat with her back to the stone wall, knees drawn up, arms resting across them. Her eyes stared into the flames like they held a past only she could see. I never meant to touch it, she said, her voice raw. I was 17, angry, alone. I thought power would fix everything. I sat across from her, watching every flicker of emotion that passed through her expression, regret, fear, something almost like shame. What happened? I found the Ember Crown in the ruins beneath the old temple. Everyone said it was sealed, cursed, lost. But I had magic, and I was reckless. I broke the warding stones. I reached for it. She paused. It reached back. I didn't breathe. What did it do? It didn't hurt me, she whispered. It whispered. Promised. It showed me a vision of the world reshaped. A world without kings. Without cages. Just power, raw, wild, free. That sounds like something you would want, I said quietly. It was, she admitted. And that's why it's so dangerous. Because the Ember Crown doesn't want to destroy. It wants to seduce. And now it's calling to me. Kaelin met my gaze. Yes. Why? Because your blood carries the last living thread of Salmarin line magic. The crown was forged with that same blood, centuries ago. It recognizes you. It wants to bond. I shook my head, heart pounding. And if it does? It will give you everything, she said. Power beyond anything even I can imagine. But it won't be yours. Not truly. It will use you until there's nothing left.
My mouth was dry.
And you think I'll let that happen? No, Kaylin said. I think you'll try to stop it. But I also think it already has a piece of you. I stood, pacing. So what, then? We run again? Hope it can't find us. She stood too. We go to it. I froze. What? If we don't, someone else will. Your father. His court. They'll force the bond. Use you as a weapon. But if we go now, together, maybe we can seal it again. Or destroy it. I stared at her, disbelief warring with fear. You want to walk into the heart of the thing that nearly broke you? No, she said softly. I want to protect you from ever having to face it alone. And there it was, not just devotion but sacrifice. Kaylin wasn't afraid for herself. She was terrified of losing me. I crossed the space between us in a single breath. You're not losing me, I said. Not to the crown. Not to the court. Not to anything. Her hand cupped my jaw, trembling. I already have, she whispered. Every time you smile at me, I feel it. Every time you say my name like it means something, I lose another piece of the girl who swore never to love again. Then let her go, I said. Let her burn. And let me stay. The kiss was quiet, slow, painful. Her lips moved like a prayer against mine, reverent, desperate. And when we pulled apart, something shifted between us. The bond pulsed stronger, sharper. Magic crackled between our palms as they touched, and the fire in the hearth flared, golden and wild. We leave at first light, Kaylin said. There's an old path through the mountain that leads to the Ember Vault. What are we walking into? I asked. She held my gaze. The place where gods and monsters were born. And maybe the end of us. I didn't sleep. Not because of fear, but because of the feeling growing inside me. A pull. A hum. Like something deep beneath the earth was waking, waiting, hungering for my touch. And somehow, I knew Kaylin was right. I couldn't run from this. I could only choose how I would face it. At dawn, we set out in silence, our hands brushing now and then, not by accident, but by need. The landscape changed as we climbed. Trees withered. Stone bled strange symbols. The wind began to whisper in a language I almost understood. And then, just before dusk, we reached the crest of the mountain. Below us, the Ember Vault. A ruin carved into the bones of the earth, its gates pulsing with faint light. It's waiting, Kaylin said. Do we have a plan? I asked. We survive, she said. We stay together. But as we stepped closer, something shifted in the air. I felt it, a sudden ache in my chest. The bond pulsed. And a voice, not Kaylin's, echoed inside my head. Eloan. I froze. Did you hear that? What? Kaylin asked. It said my name. The crown, she whispered. It knows you're here. I gripped her hand tighter. Then let's show it I'm not alone. The gates opened. No touch. No key. Just will. Inside, the vault breathed like a living thing. Walls glowed faintly. Shadows moved without sources. And in the center, hovering above a cracked obsidian pedestal, was the Ember Crown. Simple. Beautiful. Terrifying. Kaylin pulled me back. Don't go near it yet. But my feet moved. The magic inside me surged forward like a wave. We are one, the crown whispered. We remember your blood. We remember your fire. I reached out, not to touch, but to feel. And in that moment, the world exploded. Memories not mine flooded my vision. Queens burning kingdoms, witches rising, betrayal carved into history. I screamed. Kaylin yanked me back. The spell shattered. I collapsed against her, shaking. It's too strong, I gasped. It wants me. Then we burn it, she said. But the crown pulsed again. You cannot destroy what you are, it said. And that was when I understood. The final truth Kaylin had feared. I wasn't just its key. I was its heir. I couldn't breathe. The crown's voice still echoed inside my skull, ancient and cold and cruelly familiar. You are ours. You were always ours. Kaelin held me tighter, but I felt the tremor in her arms. She wasn't afraid of the crown. She was afraid of me. I staggered back from the pedestal, gasping, the magic inside me surging too fast, too hot. I felt like I was cracking from the inside. Eloan, Kaelin said, her voice low and sharp. Look at me. Stay with me. I met her eyes, and something in me buckled, because in that moment, I could feel what she felt. The bond opened, not just in power, but in emotion. I felt her fear, her grief, her love, and I felt the truth buried beneath all of it. She would die for me. You have to leave, I said, my voice hoarse.
Now.
Before it, no, her grip tightened. I didn't follow you this far to run. I made a vow the moment you kissed me. You fall, I fall with you. This isn't a fall, Kaelin, I whispered. It's a descent. The crown pulsed again, brighter this time. Flames licked the air without heat. Whispers filled the chamber. Let go, it said. Let us make you whole. My knees buckled. Kaelin caught me, pulled me into her arms, her hand cradling the back of my neck. Fight it, she whispered. You're stronger than this. You're stronger than them. I don't think I am, I said, trembling. I feel it in me, like it's waking something I've always carried. Then use it, she said. Don't let it use you. But what if I can't tell the difference anymore? She looked at me like I was the only truth left in her world. Then let me remind you. She kissed me, not with desperation this time, but with fierce, aching certainty. And something inside me cracked. The bond between us flared, but it didn't burn, it wove. Magic poured from her lips into mine, a tether, a lifeline. I clung to her like breath, like memory. When we broke apart, I felt it, the crown recoiling. She is weakening you, it hissed. She binds you in chains of love. We offer freedom. You don't know what freedom is, I said aloud. You only know power. Power is freedom. No, Kaelin said. Power is choice. The flames flared, and the pedestal cracked. The vault began to tremble. It's reacting to you, Kaelin said. You need to decide.
Now.
What if I destroy it and lose what's inside me? Then you'll still be you, she said. Still mine. And what if it takes me? Her voice was a blade. Then I'll come into the fire and pull you back myself. I stepped toward the crown. Its light curved toward me like a lover. I raised my hand. The magic surged red and gold and black.
My bloodline.
My inheritance. My curse. Say yes, it whispered. And we will burn the world clean. I saw it then, a future where I wore the crown, where kingdoms fell and the skies burned and I was alone. Even Kaelin turned to ash in that vision. I screamed. No. My magic rose. Not as destruction. As refusal. I unleashed everything. Not at the crown, but through it. My truth. My rage. My love. The vault exploded in light. Kaelin screamed my name, but I didn't feel pain. I felt release. The crown shattered. Magic poured from it in a spiral, seeping into the stones, into the wind, into me. Then silence. I collapsed.
Kaelin caught me.
Again. Always. Eloan, she gasped, cradling me. Are you? It's gone, I whispered. I broke it. You broke you, she said, her eyes glistening. But I'm still here. My fingers curled into her shirt. Did I stop it? Yes, she said. But it left something behind. I can feel it in you. The power. It's mine now, I said. It doesn't control me. Not anymore. She cupped my face. And what about us? That, I said, leaning into her, is the only magic I'll never try to break. We held each other, the vault slowly settling into silence around us. But even in the quiet, I knew this wasn't the end. The court would come, the bloodline truth would spread, and the world would look at me with fear in its eyes. But they'd also look at Kaelin. and see that I wasn't alone, that I had chosen my path, my fire, my love. What now? She asked. Now, I said, we rewrite the story they tried to force on me. Together? Always. The wind stirred. The magic in me answered. And this time, it didn't whisper promises of ruin. It whispered hope. They called it a return, but it felt like an invasion. The gates of Salmora loomed ahead, gold-plated and glinting under the weight of tradition and blood. I stood beside Kaelin, cloaked in ash-gray linen, the remnants of the Ember Vault's magic still coiled around my spine. The crown was gone, shattered into nothing. But I carried what it left behind. Power that didn't bow. Magic that didn't beg. And a will that no longer asked for permission. The guards tried to stop us at first, until I raised one hand and whispered a word Kaelin had taught me. The wind shifted. Their blades rusted in their sheaths. Their courage crumbled beneath their helmets. They let us through. We walked in silence, through the marble corridors I had once called home. I remembered them as hollow. Now, they reeked of fear. The court was waiting. Cloaked lords and jeweled ladies lined the Hall of Judgment, masks of outrage plastered on their faces. My father sat at the throne, his hand clenched around the pommel of his scepter, like it could still control me. Daughter, he said, voice loud and brittle. You returned to us at last. I stepped forward. I didn't return. I came back to end this. Murmurs rippled through the court. You left your duty, he said. You abandoned your wedding. You conspired with a witch. His gaze flicked to Kaelin, contempt curling his lip. You brought filth into this sacred place. I raised my hand. Flame curled from my fingertips, not wild, not threatening, just present. Say another word about her, and I will show this court what real power looks like.
Gasps.
Silence. Kaelin stood at my side, expression unreadable. But I felt the tension in her, ready to defend me if this became war. My father rose, robe sweeping. You are the last of our sacred bloodline. Your power belongs to Salmora. No, I said. My power belongs to me. He laughed, dry and cruel. You think the people will follow a runaway? A girl who kissed rebellion into a witch's mouth. I didn't flinch. I think they'll follow the one who broke the Ember Crown and lived. That silenced him. Even he couldn't hide the flicker of fear. It's true, then, one of the ministers said. She destroyed the artifact. The crown is no more. I destroyed the leash you were planning to wrap around my throat, I said. And if you try to make another, I will burn your legacy to the roots. Treason, another lord hissed. This is treason. Treason, I echoed, is forcing your daughter to marry a man who wanted to bleed her into a spell. My father stepped down from the dais. You were raised for greatness. No, I said. I was raised to obey. I chose greatness for myself. He looked at Kaelin again. And what is she to you? Your pet? Your weapon? She is my future, I said, loud and clear. She taught me how to fight when you only taught me how to kneel. Kaelin's fingers brushed mine, subtle, grounding. So what will you do? My father demanded. Take the throne? Burn it down. I looked at him, really looked, and I saw a man grasping at the last shreds of control. I don't want your throne, I said. I want a council, chosen by the people. I want magic freed from bloodlines. I want the old laws broken, rebuilt. You're mad, he said. You'll destroy us all. No, I said. I'll free them. The ministers shouted. The guards shifted. I raised both hands, let my magic rise in waves, not to attack, but to show them. The court lit with gold and flame and wind. Symbols of power, yes, but also of change. The world is shifting, I said. You can either shift with it or be left in the ashes. My father's voice was barely a whisper now. And if I refuse? Kaelin stepped forward, her eyes alight. Then we'll make sure you don't get the chance. The silence that followed was long, heavy. Then a voice rang out from the crowd. Let her speak. An elder witch, once exiled, stepped forward. Let the girl who lived through fire decide what burns. And one by one, they lowered their heads. Not in submission. In choice. In trust. I didn't cry.
Not then.
But when we walked out of that hall, hand in hand, magic trailing behind us like a promise, I felt it. The end of one story. And the beginning of something bigger. Kaylin looked at me, her voice low. You just changed everything. No, I said. We did. She smiled.
Not soft. Not shy. Fierce. Mine.
What happens now? She asked. I looked out at the city, already feeling the winds of change stir. Now, we build a world where love isn't rebellion. It's the foundation. And she pulled me into her arms like we were already halfway there. 2 years later, the city no longer smelled of fear. The banners of the old regime had been taken down, their colors folded into memory, not reverence. Salmora had changed, not just its laws, but its heart. And at the center of that transformation stood us. I still remembered the first time Kaylin stepped into the council chambers. The room had gone silent, breath held, half the room expecting fire, the other half hoping for it. She hadn't burned anything. Not that day. She'd simply stood beside me as I raised the first decree, equal magic rights for every citizen, regardless of bloodline. Some called it heresy. Others called it revolution. I called it justice. It wasn't easy. There were protests, threats, even assassination attempts. But they couldn't touch us, not because of fear, but because we had already walked through fire together. Nothing they did could undo what we had forged in the vault, in the wilderness, in each other's arms. The palace had become a sanctuary for outcasts. Witches, refugees, healers, and scholars once exiled were now advisors. Children learned to wield their magic safely, not in secret. And for the first time in centuries, Salmora saw peace not as submission, but as power shared. I stood on the balcony of our rebuilt home, morning wind brushing my hair, the city alive beneath me. Kaylin stepped beside me, still barefoot, still refusing to wear anything remotely formal. Her hair was loose, streaks of silver catching the sun. She looked at me the same way she had that first night, like I was made of storms and she didn't care if she drowned. They're expecting us, she murmured. Let them wait, I said. They've waited centuries for this day. What's 5 more minutes? She smirked, leaning against the rail. You've become very arrogant for someone who once tripped over her own wedding train. I had help, I said, nudging her shoulder. A certain rebellious sorceress dragged me kicking and screaming into my own power. I didn't drag you, she said. You leapt. Into you, I said, voice low. Every time. Her smile softened. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small velvet pouch. My heart skipped. What is that? You'll see, she said and opened it. Inside, 2 rings, forged from the melted remains of the crown. Not cursed, not magical, just gold and fire and choice. Kaylin, I don't believe in happily ever afters, she said. But I believe in you.
And in us.
So this is me asking, not because we need titles, but because I want to wear your promise on my hand for the rest of my life.
I didn't speak.
I couldn't. I just nodded, tears spilling down my cheeks as I reached for the ring and slid it onto her finger. She did the same, her hands trembling only slightly. We didn't kiss yet. We just held each other's gaze, the weight of everything we'd survived crashing into the silence between heartbeats. Then the bells rang, soft, joyous. A new tradition, not to summon obedience, but to celebrate union. I took her hand, and we stepped onto the platform. The city roared, not with fear, but love. Our people, our future.
Together.
That night, we danced barefoot under lanterns lit with harmless flame. She held me close, her arms wrapped around my waist, her breath warm against my ear. You still scared of magic? She asked. No, I said. Only of forgetting how it feels to be held like this. I'll remind you, she whispered. Every night. We kissed then, slow and deep and whole. Around us, the world kept moving. But in that moment, nothing else mattered. Not the past. Not the battles. Not the scars. Only her. Only me. Only love. And when we fell into bed later, tangled in silk, in magic, in each other, we didn't need spells to make it sacred. We had already turned pain into power, fire into devotion, survival into something greater, into us. And that, above all, was the greatest spell we'd ever cast. The one that never broke.